It's here for Sabra Minoka say, the former flag bearer of the Convention People's Party, CPP, Dr. Paa Kwesi Nduom, and also the former party leader and the former flag bearer of PPP, Papa Preko, and the People's Progressive Party, Dr. Paa Kwesi Nduom, who are also doubles as the CEO and the director and also the founder of a group Nduom Bank, popularly known as the GN Bank. Minoka say waku PM ewo Mahama, ex-president John Dramani Mahama in the office. So what is the whole meeting about? Now what we are learning that this whole meeting is about, and yes, Paa Kwesi Nduom wakoka NDC form, but people are even saying say what is really going on Kamia Kwesi Paa Kwesi Nduom say another than Tuma Akobo the National Democratic Congress, because BB so into BB video Mawasha Bruni, because of this is purely something you could term as a quid pro quo, because if you do this for me, maybe I can also influence your vote. I can also help the people or one more follow me not to vote for you. So we all know over this past few months, Paa Kwesi Nduom have been posting various messages and videos, snippets of videos on the social media. Then you visit the bank which is now collapsed, and the defunct GN Bank, and then whenever you visit these banks, there's a serene audio at the background that show no Kasa say the GN Bank has collapsed, should never have collapsed. He wants to bring back GN Bank. A whole lot of some progressive movement be to resurrect now defunct GN Bank. I mean, Okasi Guyan for fans are lucky our bank in Krabi Brena, Ensa, Enka, or Musika. Now, we in all of this, in all of this advocate to bring back GN Bank, Dr. Paa Kwesi Nduom Pim, our John Dramani Mahama, na so ye now, or the same be or explaining how GN Bank even came to being in the first place, and even how they even ended up being scrapped off by the Bank of Ghana. According to Dr. Paa Kwesi Nduom, it was due to some political powers and some also orders from above, and based on all of this, the Bank of Ghana, the GN Bank, the collapse here, Minoka say he believes that it shouldn't have happened. And this is not the first time somebody is complaining about how this particular new patriotic party, they single-handedly destroyed banks. We saw they destroyed the collapsed banks. So Unibank was packed, a group Nduom Bank was packed, Capital Bank, which happens to be Dr. Mensa Otabel Diano, it was also part, and even UT Bank, Dr. Kofi Amwabi, and also the bank in the crowd was part, together with Beige Capital and others. All of these banks were collapsed. Boom, CBG, the Consolidated Bank Ghana. But a group Nduom Bank believes the necessary measures and as a procedures are breaking of these banks, and as the license of this bank are consolidating it, and it is not a fair measure, because all that they were asking for was more time and perhaps a little bit of money and even more chance, because even more parties said they are done investment and then scanning by who said because of that the former Capital Bank director Atoforsen Onokrano court actually say untie scan, and as he goes to jail for giving is one of this Atokwans and Atoforsen, the former MD of Capital Bank. Yengo tie in some course a bra GN Bank CEO now the collapsed GN Bank CEO Dr. Paa Kwesi Nduom is somebody to a bra okushia John Dramani Mahama.
We built a bank from the very beginning, saying that we wanted to be the people's bank, to be everywhere, to serve the ordinary Ghanaian. So from the word go, we said we were going to build at least 300 branches and serve at least 1 million customers. And that we will be in where any major market is in this country. We built this network, which then became the focal point for economic development in many of the areas. Because now, if I know a specific man in Waliwali who sold building products. Before we got there, his business was small, because he couldn't drive through all these bad roads to go and deliver supplies, go and collect cash. But with our system in place, Anyone, whether they're in Samoba or wherever else, will go to a branch, deposit money into his account. Once he verifies it's sitting in Wale Wale, he will then send the supplies to them, and his business was thriving. Collapsing a 300 branch financial entity is inimical to the economic interests of the country. We had thousands of employees. Those employees don't have jobs. And because of the banking sector problem that showed up, who is going to give a branch manager a job today? We consider that we built one of the first, people talk about interoperability. We did this, more than 6 years ago. And that system, it doesn't work now. When the new administration took over in 2017, he decided to freeze all contracts and said they were going to review them and reject whichever ones that they would reject. When they did the review, none of our projects was rejected. As a matter of fact, they gave even more contracts to a number of the contractors that we had pre-financed. But they would pay the new contracts and leave ours, right? We said, just give us 300 million Ghana cedis of contracts, work done and certified. And if they had done that, none of our companies would have suffered any challenges. They didn't.
I believe that the action of this government was a knee-jerk reaction to a situation that should have been faced with reasonableness, level head, and a calm disposition. Professor Soludo says that the ownership of capital matters, and that the ethnicity of capital is real, and that every country's financial and banking sector is part of its national security architecture. It's not the first time we've done a banking sector cleanup. Under FinSap, we had struggling banks, and we dealt with it, and the banks came out stronger after FinSap than before. I think we are speaking on the same wavelength. I know that there are some legal issues too outstanding, but it's something that we would be looking at before we come into office. And if by the grace of the votes of the Ghanaian people and by the grace of God we do come into office, you can expect that you all get a sympathetic hearing, in trying to unravel, what has unfortunately happened.
That scheme was introduced by Professor Mills. He changed it from a mutual district insurance scheme to a national health insurance scheme so that your card could access health care anywhere in Ghana you go. And so I wonder what is giving these people this idea. I can refer to free school uniforms and free sandals. The free school uniform policy was introduced by Professor Mills. I can refer to the free textbooks for basic schools. When Nana Jane, seated here, was minister, she came and met a situation where 3 children had access to 1 textbook. By the time she left office as minister, every child in basic education had access to 4 textbooks of their own. If that is not social intervention, I wonder what else is social intervention. Even let's take progressive free SHS. It's a policy, the free SHS. I launched the free SHS. And so you can't say that we have not had any social intervention. If you talk about the cocoa sector, our policy of free fertilizer and free cocoa inputs and free seedlings changed the lives of the cocoa farmers. And if you remember, when I was leaving office, we did almost 1 million tons of cocoa because of the policy that we had of giving these inputs to the farmers free. If that is not a social intervention, I wonder what else is. That argument must stop. And the point even is, these people have done more harm to social interventions than any other government in history. They capped the NHIS, and apart from that, they starved it of funds. And so most people with an NHIS card today cannot access health services. You go, you get a consultation, there are no drugs, not even analgesics. You go to hospitals and they say they won't accept the NHIS card because the NHIS is not refunding their claims. And it's not refunding their claims because this government has starved the NHIS of money. They've starved the District Assembly's Common Fund of money. The Constitution said 5% to 8%. We were giving district assemblies 7.5% of national revenue. When this government came, they reduced it to 5%. And the rest they are putting into the consolidated fund to spend at the center. And even the 5% does not come. If you go and ask any district secretary, he will tell you there's no money. They go begging the MPs to let them have access to the money in their district common fund accounts to be able to do even some of the basic things. And so this government is doing more. Get fund, they collateralize Get fund and spend the money in advance. So Get fund is not able to continue the projects that it is undertaking because the fund has been collateralized. And so this government has done more harm to the existing social interventions than any other government in the history of the country.
Your Excellency, your critics, especially your political opponents,